We now turn our attention to a disturbing incident in the Eastern Cape where an alleged case of corporal punishment resulting in injury to a learner has been reported at Osborn Senior Secondary School. We're joined via Zoom by Vuyiseka Mboxela, spokesperson for the Eastern Cape Department of Basic Education, to provide an update on the investigation. Vuyiseka, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, and a happy Women's Day.
Thank you very much, Hugo. Good afternoon to you and the Newsroom Africa team and the listeners at home. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the message.
Fantastic. Now, can you confirm the details of the incident at Osborn Senior Secondary School and what the department has learnt so far?
Thank you very much, Hugo. What we have had is an incident of a corporal punishment which was said to be practiced by 3 teachers, which led to one learner having some blisters in the hand and also taken to a hospital for treatment. And upon hearing that and seeing it making rounds on the social media, the department instituted an investigation which was targeting the 3 teachers, which were the ones that were spoken about in the social media. The 7 days that was given to the investigators by the department proved to be very little because investigators came back to the department and said, it seems as if this is not just an incident, an isolated incident. It's an incident that needs investigation to be increased. And then the investigation was then increased to cover those that would have not made social media attention. But once that was happening, the 3 teachers that were said to be the ones that are investigated, including the school principal, were then put in precautionary suspension. And we are anticipating that at least a bigger scale of investigation will confirm whether perpetrated in Osborn as always, or it was just an isolated incident.
Now, I suppose what would be worrying, not just for you as the department, but certainly for many parents, is that this incident was not isolated. There were 3 teachers that were involved, and this will almost suggest that it is a common practice. Now, whilst your investigations are being carried out at Osborn Senior Secondary School, will the investigations go across other schools in the Eastern Cape?
Necessarily, it wouldn't be something that we can easily do, like randomly do to certain schools without at least getting an indication that is happening, because you'd remember, we've got close to 5,000 schools in the province. And in some instances, you'll find that that corporal punishment is something that is even approved by SGBs. And in some instances, you'll find that even parents will quote how they grew up and how they're being punished in schools. But we continue to say there are other forms that can be used to correct a learner in a school. And above everything else, there's a difference between correcting a learner for a misbehavior or anything than clearly punishing a learner to a point that he or she has a hand that can't be used or a hand that has got some blue marks because of the beating. And it is in that view that we then said, in the instance of Osborn, because it's involving 3 teachers, it therefore means it could be a culture within the school, and or it could be something that is done by teachers with a bit of an attitude that says, we're in the far flanks of the province, we would not be caught. But unfortunately, this is where we are now, and the department is obligated to act on the incident because there is a difference between acting in a responsible manner and a difference acting in a manner which put the life of the learner in a very strained way. For an example, if that learner could go for an operation, the question is, what then becomes the future of that learner and the hand that the learner must use?
Now, Vuyiseka, you've been quoted as saying that corporal punishment is against the Constitution and department's policies. But in the same breath, you've also mentioned that in some instances, the SGBs have given approval. So what is the overriding authority where corporal punishment is the case in schools?
The overriding policy is the constitution of the country and the policy of the department. There can be no school in the province and most probably even in the country that can act against the constitution and so the policy of DBE. Policy of DBE is very clear. It adopted it and it said no to corporal punishment. So any school that says that it's our own policy as a school or is our own agreement with the SGB and the parents, that kind of an argument is out of the ambit of the law, because the constitution of the country is very clear on how we must administer schooling in the province and in the country, and so is the policy of DPE, is very clear on how we must administer. It was long abolished in 2006, so anyone who's still practicing it is fighting against his own career or her own career at the schooling system of the province and of the country.
Now, the principal has been suspended. What does this signify about the seriousness with which the department views this incident and obviously similar incidents that might be occurring in the Eastern Cape?
The seriousness of the matter is that, one, this is a school principal. So it talks to a person who is ignoring school policies. And it is unfortunately because there's no one who's a principal in the Eastern Cape that doesn't get to be inducted on how he is expected to conduct the business of a school. And secondly, the fact that there's a learner that was even admitted in a hospital, it then tells you that there is an act that the department must make. And the fact that there were three that are the ones that are said to be still practicing corporal punishment in a bit of a bragging manner, it tells you that more policy application needed to be done. And further to that, to make sure that there is not any other person who will say that I saw this happening in Osborn and nothing else can happen to me. We must draw a line, be able to say this is right, this is wrong. And for anyone who's a school principal to be found on the wrong side of the law, it therefore tells you that there's more that needs to be done in that particular school, because the school principal is the one that must be practicing what the law says and is the one that must be leading by example.
Vuyiseka, very, very quickly, we've run short of time. Now, what support and training are being provided to teachers to ensure they use alternative and lawful methods of discipline? Because I imagine that sometimes that's where the challenge is.
No, Hugo, I tell you, in the department, we've got a fully fledged directorate, which is meant for teacher development. And there is no one who can be claimed to be a full-time teacher and a principal without having been orientated, at least on the basic policies of the department. For an example, in the past 2 years, we have had a cohort of close to 1,200 teachers that were taken through a process of training, and close to 600 it were only newly appointed school principal. And one basic document that they are orientated on is the South African Schools Act, which is speaking very clear on the corporal punishment. And from time to time, there are trainings that they are sent to. Some of them, they're leadership trainings, and some of them, they're about school management. So from where we're seated, there's more that we're doing. And of course, when you are a school principal, you are at least expected to read what are the basic policies of the department. What is it that is a basic overarching document? And in this instance of the department, is the constitution of the country, and further, the South African Schools Act. And of course, recently, the Bella Bill is the one that we urge our own teachers, our own principals to familiarize themselves with that document, because that document is a document that is a product of the opinions of the people across the country. And then, therefore, it means there can be no school that says, we are having this opinion on how the school must be run, because there's a document that is an overarching one, which is as a result of opinions of everyone in the country, which is the Bella Bill, the Bella Act now, which has just been enacted by the minister. That needs further discussion.
And I suppose that pretty much sums it up. Vuyiseka Mboxela, spokesperson of Eastern Cape Basic Education, speaking to us along the lines of that learner who suffered corporal punishment.